Hello everybody, Jonathan Polly here with West Coast Weather. Today is June 9th, and we're going to talk about the relatively nice weather we're having on the West Coast right now, other than some marine stratus along the Washington-Oregon coastlines and some showers and scattered thunderstorms out in the eastern Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. There's mostly sun and also some high-level clouds, but that's really not affecting the surface that much. We're going to talk about this relatively nice weather for the next day or so before we get a system moving in on Tuesday in the British Columbia. That's going to spread a weak frontal system over western Washington, southwest BC, but mostly just some showers expected with that. There's also going to be a pretty strong westerly surge of wind down the Strait Juan de Fuca later tonight, June 9th. That will affect parts of Whidbey Island, the San Juan Islands, Port Angeles, the southern Vancouver Island area towards Victoria as well. So just be careful if you're having to go out on the waters out there. But other than that, California looks to be very dry over the next week or so. We're going to enter probably another relatively cool and wetter pattern for the Pacific Northwest by the end of next week, as a trough from the Gulf of Alaska that's bringing our system on Tuesday starts to move into the Pacific Northwest, and that will cool us down and bring some more precipitation into the forecast. So still a decent bit to talk about here. It is June, but it's still technically spring around here, so we still get these occasional storm systems. And as we head into July and August, that jet stream is going to start weakening even more, and that will cause most of the storm systems and moisture to start going out of the area. But then we'll have to start talking about potential for heat waves and also monsoon moisture making its way out for potential for thunderstorms and stuff like that. But we'll just have to keep an eye on that in the future. Thank you everybody for that that continues to watch these videos, and thank you to all the new people that have been joining lately. If you wouldn't mind just hitting that subscribe button and like buttons down below this video, that would be much appreciated. That just helps the algorithm to help push my videos out to more viewers, and just generally helps the channel out. So that would be very much appreciated if you do that. But without further ado, let's get right into the weather forecast. Now we're looking at general ridge and trough positions. Here's Washington, Oregon, California. Here's Washington, Oregon, California over here as well. This is the European model here on the left and the GFS on the right. This kind of helps us to see how the models are agreeing with each other and how well they are. You can see this is about right now, this morning, and you can see that they're basically identical, which is to be expected because they both have the best data available right now to them. You can see this these little bars that are showing the heights. Basically, if you have lower heights, like 534, and it's measured in dam, and basically the lower the heights you have, the more stormy the weather typically is. That's where you get your troughs. And the ridges will have higher dam values, and that will lead to generally drier and warmer weather. And you can see how these bars are kind of bent downward on the coast. This is showing that there's general very weak troughing along the coast. This is leading to some instability for some thunderstorms out east and some cloud cover over parts of western Washington, Oregon, southwest British Columbia. But you can see that this this ridge starts building up, but then this trough starts moving in on Tuesday, and this is why I was mentioning that system moving in on Tuesday. But you can see there's some differences in the exact strength of this little lobe of low pressure that moves into up near Haida Gwaii in British Columbia. But generally the same effects either way. The GFS is a little stronger with this, so maybe a little more showers, but it'll bring a weak frontal system with some showers through the area, maybe some breezy winds, as well as that pressure gradient sets up as that storm system moves into British Columbia. But you can kind of see that we kind of get this little bit of a ridge during the middle of the week, so maybe a bit dry on the later end of Tuesday into Wednesday. But you can see that the main troughs moves in on later on Thursday into Friday. This is going to bring some cooler and wetter weather the parts of British Columbia, Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. But you can see the ridge is still protecting California down here from most of the precipitation. But this trough kind of just hangs out over the Pacific Northwest on both models. There's a bit of a differences, but generally all the models in pretty good agreement through next weekend. They start disagreeing a bit as you get past that, but that's to be expected because that's over a week away. But generally some troughing and some wetter weather for the Pacific Northwest is expected next weekend. Now looking at, you can see, if I go back to this, you can see this little like upper level, this little cutoff low pressure system all the way down off the coast of Baja California. And I want to show you why that is. This is looking at the 300 millibar wind speed and knots. And this is really high up in the atmosphere. So this is up near, like, up close to the stratosphere. And you can see this general troughing over the coast. You can see how the winds come down here off the coast and then come back up over western Washington. And you look at how this kind of gets cut off. It extends out of the jet stream. This is the jet stream up here, and it kind of gets cut off. And this is why we call them cutoff lows, because it's basically a little spin from the jet stream that kind of gets pinched off from the main jet stream. And this has caused some isolated cooler weather and a little stormier weather for wherever it sets up. So that might bring some cooler and maybe slightly stormier weather to parts of the California coastline, but this is generally a pretty weak upper level low, so it probably won't have that much effect. But you can kind of see how it just spins off the coast of California, and then it gets picked up by the jet stream. Once it starts meandering around, the next wave of the jet stream will come and pick it up and then fling it off. So that's kind of a cool little tidbit of information right there about the jet stream. But now looking at the 6-hour precipitation type in inches, you can see general scattered showers and isolated thunderstorms. Most of this activity will be out east, but there's some activity that's been showing up that potentially will form over the Olympic Mountains and maybe parts of the northern Cascades and southern South BC Cascades as well over later this afternoon. But really, mostly isolated activity over the mountains. We mostly are dry out on Monday. But as you can see on Tuesday, our low pressure system starts moving in, bringing that weak frontal system over the area during the day on Tuesday, bringing some of the scattered showers over the area. But that quickly dries out by late Tuesday night. And we remain mostly dry over most of the Pacific Northwest on Wednesday as that kind of short ridge builds over the region. And let me refresh that, because this European model run just started updating right now. And you can see, as this is Thursday morning, you can see almost completely dry, but you can see we start getting some moisture back in the area possibly late Thursday, but mostly on Friday morning. There's a little bit of disagreement in the exact time, but a weak frontal system with some more showers it looks to be expected on Friday and the Saturday, with maybe some convergence or activity over western Washington. The bigger deal with this is probably just the cooler temperatures, with highs probably in the 50s and 60s for most locations. But then you can see we can dry out with that, and potentially another storm system off in the future later next week. But this is now looking at the lightning flash density on the European model. This is kind of showing where the model thinks that there's going to be the best chance of thunderstorms. And you can see later this afternoon that it's showing potential anywhere across eastern Oregon and Washington, parts of the Cascades as well. But most of that activity dies down as we go through tomorrow. Now taking a closer look at the Pacific Northwest, here's western Idaho, here's Washington, here's Oregon, and here's southwest British Columbia up here. You can see this is looking at 10-meter wind gusts. And let me refresh this, because this HRRR is updating right now. Look at this westerly surge that starts coming in later this afternoon. It really starts picking up around about 5 to 8 p.m. You can see some gusts up over 40 miles per hour possible for the Strait of Juan de Fuca all the way to the Whidbey Island as well, maybe including Admiralty Inlet as well. The biggest effects will be rough seas out there. So if you're a mariner and a small craft, just please stay in port or find port today before these winds start kicking up, because they'll probably generate some waves that are over 6 feet, which is not good for small craft out there. But that will mostly die down by tomorrow morning. Looking at the composite reflectivity on the HRO, this is basically what it thinks that the radar is going to look like. And you can see as we go through this afternoon, all these showers and thunderstorms, possibly some severe thunderstorms in southeastern Oregon. But the main threat's going to be some gusty winds and maybe some large size hail. But you can see that most of the showers stay out east, but the HRRR does show a couple little blips showing up over the Cascades in the Olympics this afternoon. So just be careful if you're out there in the backcountry and If we go all the way out to Tuesday morning, you can see the HRL is showing that weak front and some of those isolated showers moving into the western Washington, southwest British Columbia on Tuesday. Now looking at the national blend of models, this is the daily max 2-meter temperature, so the high temperature for the day. This is for tomorrow on Monday, June 10th. You can see pretty warm temperatures as that ridge of high pressure still remains over the area with high temperatures well into the 70s and for western Washington, Oregon, with 60s and 50s along the coastlines. Temperatures potentially getting up towards 90 degrees in the Columbia Basin of eastern Washington. You can see the Central Valley of California is getting a bit of a heat wave right now, with excessive heat watches up for this next week, Monday through Wednesday, as temperatures will likely get well over 90 and 100 degrees for parts of the Central Valleys. And that will only increase on Tuesday and Wednesday, with temperatures getting up towards 105 degrees in places, probably getting isolated areas getting close up to 110 degrees. You can see Death Valley is getting up to towards 120 degrees. So definitely very, very warm down there, to say the least. But you can see generally temperatures in the 60s and 70s for western Washington, Oregon most of this next week, and with temperatures in the 80s approaching 90 degrees in spots for eastern Washington and Oregon. But then as we go through Friday next week and things start cooling down, with highs only maybe getting to the low, the middle 60s. This is a blend of models, so this is likely to be a little different than what it actually is. These temperatures might be a little hotter, a little cooler than what it's showing, but gives a good general idea. Now looking at a nice graph from the National Weather Service of Spokane, Washington, showing the potential for showers and thunderstorms later today. Lightning, small hail, and gusty outflow winds are the main threats, and this will end by the evening. And there's a major heat risk this week for Central California, especially from Redding all the way down the pass to the southeast of San Jose. This level of heat affects everyone without effective cooling and such or adequate hydration. Consider canceling outdoor activities during the heat of the day, and please stay hydrated and stay in a cool place. So definitely some pretty major heat down there expected this week. This is Monday through Wednesday, before we start cooling down a bit later next week. Now looking at the 6 and 10 day temperature outlook from the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center, showing that big cool down for the Pacific Northwest later next week and the next week, is that trough of low pressure looks to set up. Generally still above normal temperatures for parts of Southern California, as that ridge remains down there. Above average precipitation also expected, which is really nice to have during the late spring months. You can see below average precipitation for parts of California. The 8 to 14 day temperature, this is for June 16th through the 22nd. This is for below average temperatures for much of the Pacific Northwest, as that trough of low pressure looks to kind of meander over the area, with still above average temperatures expected for Southern California, above average precipitation, below average precipitation down into the southwest United States. But definitely some potential for some storm systems to look at as we go through later next week, but we'll just continue to look at that as we get closer, because there's still some disagreement on exact effects of that later next week. Well, everybody, that's it for this video. I just hope everybody found this video enjoyable and informative. Please go out there and enjoy that sunshine that we have out there for all those places that are not getting those showers and thunderstorms. But if you're camping or living out east into the Cascades in eastern Washington, Oregon, just please keep an eye on the sky today as those showers and isolated thunderstorms move through there, especially for southeastern Oregon and the western Idaho, where some potential for some isolated strong and severe thunderstorms are possible. We get a bit of a break tomorrow on Monday before we get some showers across western Washington and southwest British Columbia on Tuesday, as that weak frontal system moves through. Then that major heat from Monday through Wednesday for the central Valley of California. Please take all those precautions as that heat lasts through the middle part of this coming week, but it should start cooling down a bit. But they always remain hot down there in California, even when they're not getting a major heat wave. That's just the nature of the climate down there in California. But we look to enter a period of weather as we head into the later, the late half of next week for the Pacific Northwest, especially as we go through Friday into Saturday of next week, as that trough of low pressure brings some showers and cooler weather as well. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll talk to everybody in the next video.